Alright, folks, we are back on stream today for a very special event. Bear with me, I just got out of the shower, so my hair's still wet. The Vampires Bloodlord Rising Mega Build is finally finished. I just finished it like 3 minutes ago. And I want to show it to you. First, I gotta fix my settings. Should have done this before going live. Forgot. My bad. Sorry. So we want quality. At Epic. Limit on frame rate to 60. Shadows to medium. Post processing to medium. Arf. Squirrel Beach. DLSS. Ultra, that's good. Okay. We should be good. Let's have a look. I can now reveal, for those of you who don't already know this, that we have been building the White House. Sort of. The closest approximation of the White House that the game would allow us to make. It does not offer white columns, and therefore we could have gone with gray columns, but we said, fuck it, let's do black because it looks nice. But, well, and it's not wide enough. You might be looking at the main building going, well, that kind of looks like the White House, but then what are those things on the left and right? Those are the East and West Wing. They show up in almost none of the photos of the actual White House. In fact, a lot of people think that this half of the main building is the West Wing, when in fact, this is the West Wing. There are big, long hallways that go off either side of the White House, and then additional chunks of building at the end of those hallways. And when you typically see the White House in like 90% of the photos of the White House, the hallways get obscured in trees and you don't really notice that they're there, and then you just hold on. There's a dog trying to use my mouse hand as a pillow. You don't notice that they're there, and so people are wholly unaware of the fact that the East and West Wing are not part of the main building. I mean, they're all one building, but they're attached by hallways. So, shall we have a tour? Excuse me, Brother Malak. In a previous video, if you're curious how I did this fence all the way around, I did show how I made this step by step. In fact, I showed the entire process of figuring out how to get what I wanted to look like this. And I will snip that into a little tutorial for you later today. Got a gate, which right now I walked up from the side so it opened up separately. But back up. They all open together. So what is commonly referred to as the South Lawn. And this is the most common, famous image or angle to see the White House from. A lot of people don't realize this door and this awning are here. They are somewhat recent additions. And the photos of the White House are generally taken from an aerial, so you see those from the top, and it's white, so you don't really see it. It kind of blends into the building. The tree is totally not part of the design, it's just something I put out because I unlocked it and it's pretty and I wanted to. Same with the mausoleum over here. There is actually other buildings on the White mausoleum, to my knowledge, is not one of them, but we needed a place to put her servants while we were working on the house, and we just never took it down. But there's where we're at thus far. As the outside goes, shall we do the grand tour? Now, we could go in that front door, right there, but that is actually like an employee's entrance, I believe. Majority of entering the house happens at the east wing, and the grandest way is obviously upstairs through the main doors. Now, once you get inside, what you see inside is going to be very, very much my imagination, because, as I'm sure you can imagine, the interior of the White House blueprints are a closely guarded secret. Older versions have been loosely released with very minimal detail. Staircases are never really released for security purposes. So I just kind of had to make it up as I went along and used some of what I saw in TV shows and stuff as inspiration. So for starters, we have the White House Christmas tree, which is a very famous event every year. Some people pay attention every single year to find out what the White House Christmas tree is going to look like that year. Presidents and first ladies put a lot of effort into the White House Christmas tree generally, so I made a White House Christmas tree. We are now at the grand entrance, which, as you can see, serves really no other purpose. Over here we do have some seating areas for lobbying and conversation and what have you. We have a similar area over here. Some seating just outside, honestly not for any particular reason, except that because the game is in early access, decorations are limited and furniture choices are limited, and I didn't want to leave it looking blank, so that's what I put there. This is the grand ballroom. It is set up for a banquet as opposed to a dance. Something such as the White House dinner, perhaps, where I believe the president gets roasted. Is that the White House dinner or is that the press dinner? I can't remember. But here we go. We have the lectern for speakers, president and vice president's chairs, grand ballroom. Now, we will go downstairs first, because it is probably, well, actually, let's go over here. Over here we have the walkway that goes on the second floor from the White House proper to the West Wing. You may notice, if you've looked at my compass up there, that the West Wing is on the wrong side of the building as far as this game is concerned. We're actually on the east side of the building. I don't care. You may have seen presidents walking the walkway over to the White House proper from the West Wing on newsreels and clips and stuff. This is the balcony on top of the Oval Office. Again, often we see presidents standing up here waving at the crowd. It's a good place for them to think, enjoy some sunshine. Heading over here. This is the West Wing staff room. Now, another thing people don't often realize is that West Wing staff and White House staff are two different things. The West Wing staff are the people who work on foreign policy, they work on public relations, they work on trade, they work on embargoes. These are the people who run the country. It's probably not accurate. I'm sure they have individual offices instead of being thrown together like a secretary pool. But, like I said, I just had to make it up to it. Of course, out on the dock. Okay, now we go inside. Down the stairs. needs to give a speech. In fact, if you watch the speech of Obama announcing that Osama bin Laden was assassinated, I do believe it is actually from this doorway. Not this one, obviously, but the one that onto the south lawn. Also known as the west front lawn because it's on the west side and it's the front of the building. In here we have the press room. This is where the press secretary delivers news to the various press outlets of the country and world and answers any questions that they might have. Fairly certain there's not a back door in real life here, because maybe people need a way to get out and go gathering stuff. And since we're here, back here we just kind of have a big open space. I don't really know what's going on at this moment. I'm fairly certain this is one of the more guarded areas of the White House grounds for, you know, the president has kids and stuff for them to play and kind of live somewhat of a normal life. So it's an area that isn't really drafted as far as I'm aware. So I just kind of kept it minimal. I did put a statue up. We did make a stage, and if you want to know how I made the stage so that you can walk up like this staircase, I will put that into another tutorial from my last stream. Over here we have the White House press room. Now, how is that different from, the press pool? How is that different from the press room? The press room is where the press secretary delivers news to the world's press. The press pool is where the White House people who work on press within the White House, deciding what gets released, what doesn't get released, how we want to frame it, how we want to write it, what we want to say, that happens in a totally separate group of people. These people work for CBS, NBC, ABC, CNN, etc., etc. These people work for the actual White House. Again, not to scale, probably not accurate, but there you go. And this is the Chief of Staff's desk. Now, I'm 100% certain that the Chief of Staff has his own office, but I'm working with what I got. And to the oval. Now we know from photos that there is a historic fireplace. This game doesn't have those yet, so I put them in. We know there's couches. This game doesn't have those yet, so I put benches and chairs. And we have a desk, which is the exact same desk being used by the press pool. We know that the president has a historic, well, actually has a selection, his choice of historic desks. He can use whichever one he wants to, or even get a new one if he wants to, but most presidents these days use the antiques from previous presidents. But working with what I got. All in all, though, I think it didn't turn out too far off the mark. Like, the carpet and everything looks shockingly carpet-like, despite the fact that it's shiny and fairly marble. But also, look at that. Wow, that is a reflection and a half. But yeah, I think all in all, given what I had to work with, I think it turned out okay. Now, let's head upstairs. Oh no, we gotta go to the other side. Oh, let's go check out the East Wing. Now, I don't really know what the East Wing is, honestly. I think it's where the majority of the First Lady's staff is, but I could be totally wrong. So in here we just have kind of brief. And in here we have tailoring stations with dress forms set up. And here we have the alchemy room with alchemy-like things set up. Work table. And on this side we have the library. I know that the White House does have a library. I don't know where in the White House it is located. I don't know what it looks like. I would imagine it's quite nice. I'm sure the shelves aren't empty like this. I think it would probably be my favorite room in the White House should I ever get to visit. But I just kind of had to make it up as I went. I do love the wallpaper in here too, because it's green. Over here I made a little sitting area. I would love to put some blankets and throw some pillows up there, but the game doesn't have those yet, so you'll just have to imagine them. We have desks for people doing research. lots more bookshelves, and some nifty things to look at this end. Alright, so that is the wing in its entirety. The east and west wings are 2 floors. The west wing does have a basement. Probably a sub-basement, a basement under the basement, the bunker. Obviously the stainless steel pipes ground, so I wasn't able to build those. I had to just do what was ground level and above. Up the grand staircase, the 3rd floor. Now, I do know that the 3rd floor is where the president's private apartments are, but I don't know much more about them than that, so we made it up. The 3rd floor does contain the president's private balcony, where he can hang out and enjoy the view, get some fresh air, and just sort of think and do his own thing. His family as well. So, we made it a little bit more group-oriented. I think it's much more intimate than this. But I wanted it to not look empty, so that's what I gave it. Over here, my husband did this, Damien Darkrose, at Damien Darkrose is his channel. He imagined, like, what if you're the president and you have a private concert that you just want to invite a few of your closest friends to participate in? Then this is what that one might look like. It's very bright, fortunately. The lights beautiful, but strong. But I didn't want to lose the ambiance of, having them on every row, and it kind of looks like a wedding chapel a little bit, but it's also just really pretty and warm, and I like it. So we have our musicians' chairs with our various instruments set up. And we have this piano harpsichord thingy. Looks like a violin, maybe? Yeah. By the way, if you can hear something mechanical running behind me, it's the robot vacuum. I do apologize if that's an annoying sound. Over here, I just sort of set up a table and created a sculpture in the middle using some chairs. Sculpture. And we put the fountain inside. Why did we put the fountain inside? I don't know, but there it is. So, to the president's private apartments. In here we have the living room. And mentioned earlier there are no couches, so I think so. Those are my best estimation of couches. Under here we have Harry Potter's bedroom, also known as the cupboard under the stairs. In here we have the bathroom. I worked out a little toilet. I mean, that doesn't look like a little toilet. It totally does. We've got our sink, our little knobs, you can turn on the water. And the bathroom kind of looks like 2 toilets side by side, but it's a bathtub. Or sorry, not the bathroom, the bathtub. That's the bathtub. It's a very narrow bathtub, but it's my bathtub and I like it. And just imagine that that's a little towel bar going between those 2 posts. Then we have the grand bedroom. And yes, even though this is a game of vampires, I created a bed. A real bed, not just coffins. And so, in the bedroom we have a completely uncomfortable hard wooden bed with no mattress whatsoever, but it's a bed. And I like it. It looks pretty. A dressing area with a mirror that has no glass in it. Honestly, here's the thing. I'm a vampire. So even if it did have glass, I wouldn't have a reflection anyway. Oh, you know what? Huh. I barely have a reflection in the floor. I'm more of a shadow in the floor than a reflection. That's cool. Bravo, game designers, because everything else has a reflection. Bravo. Well done. That one has little pillows that come with the chair. Alright, moving on, we have a closet. Again, just imagine there's a little bar going between those 2 posts to hang clothes on. installed various forms of entertainment and relaxation in the White House. There's been basketball courts, tennis courts, a bowling alley, library, movie theater, etc. And this is one of those instances. I didn't necessarily do all of them, but this is one. So this is the movie theater with a small, modest amount of seating for the president, the president's family, and maybe a few honored guests. Some tables where the White House kitchen staff can put out some delicious snacks and pastries. The White House press pool. Now earlier, you know what, let's go, hold on, we're going to go take a quick nap, and then we'll come back, because I want to show you around outside, and the sun's about to probably fry my little butt crispy. So, oh, wait. So you can know that sleep. Okay, so earlier I mentioned that the West Wing staff and the White House staff are actually two different groups. And I mentioned that the West Wing staff, the staff that actually works in the West Wing and runs the country, didn't tell you what the White House staff does. They run the White House. Yes, so all things related to the running of the White House. Tours, events, cleaning, groundskeeping, security, moving new presidents in and old presidents out, day-to-day cooking and cleaning for the president and his family, appointments that aren't directly related to the president himself, but like to take pictures or film or whatever. Those are all handled by the actual White House staff as opposed to the West Wing staff. So, West Wing staff runs the country, White House staff runs the White House. And beyond the atrium, we have the best view. Now, another thing a lot of people don't know is that if you look really closely in a lot of the photos, you can see the snipers. Because at all times, I'm pretty sure, 24/7, at least when the president is in the White House, and possibly even when he's not, there are snipers that hang out on the roof of the White House always, looking over the sides, ready to shoot anyone who gets too close and, breaches security. So that's why there is a walkway. It is, in fact, a real walkway. I didn't make this up. That goes all the way around the roof of the White House, where the snipers can do their lookout job. I actually even created these little, sniper windows. That is my own playful interpretation of the security situation of the White House. And there's also a bunch of chimneys and stuff like that on the actual roof itself. But I didn't put those in because I didn't really think that I needed to, since there's no actual fireplaces in the game. Now, one thing we did not look at, which is down on the fronts, is I mentioned the various forms of entertainment. Go all the way down the stairs, which will take forever. We'll just jump off the balcony because we're vampires and that's something. Forms of entertainment, the tennis courts and whatnot. So, oh, by the way, there would be a place for the president's helicopter, Marine One, to land on the lawn over there by the West Wing, if I had the room for it. So, the tree's there instead. The tree is Marine One. And over here we have the tennis court. Now, I didn't build a way to get into this. There's no gate, and there's also no door. Because it was sort of an afterthought to do the back. But that's supposed to be the tennis court. That's supposed to be the net for the tennis court. Back there you have some tables set up. There's a statue. some benches where you can sit and watch tennis matches. But I believe it was JFK who put in the tennis courts. I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me in the comments. But yeah, so obviously another thing is the back lawn is way bigger than this and does not involve people being able to walk right up to the wall of the White House. But working within the limitations of the game, and I wanted to make the house as big as possible, even if it meant so that's what I did. So there we have it. That is the grand tour of the White House as imagined in Vampires Bloodline Rising. And we're back outside so you can have another look at the front of the building. But as you can see there in the upper right hand corner, we hit 10,000 pieces. We actually got over 10,000 pieces. I did film hitting 10,000 pieces last night. Film it. Some of you were like, what is film? I streamed it last night when I hit 10,000 pieces. And the fencing wasn't done yet. So I finished the fencing today before making this video. And there is the finished product. So, I guess my next project is I've started already working on it in Nightingale, and once husband gets maximum base size, I'll start working on it in Dune. But there is this one, done and dusted. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you have any other games that you want me to try to create the White House in, please let me know. What we're doing is called a build-off, where I basically do my best to build the most accurate version of the White House I can in as many games as you guys want me to, so that you can decide which game you think has the most robust building system that allows for the most accuracy, which is why we chose a real building, so that it's not just about imagination, it's about accuracy and being able to work within the limitations of the game to get something that looks very much like what it's supposed to. And I personally think it's not bad. White columns would be great. The game is still in early access. It could very well get better in the future. Likely will. But for an early access game, I'm extremely impressed with the building system, especially the ability to glitch objects to create things that weren't meant to be part of the game, like the couches, the bathtub, the toilet, the stages, the fence, etc. I love it when games let me do that. I hate being limited by what the developers imagine. I love being able to put stuff that they created together to create totally new things. I started doing it in UO, and I did it in Final Fantasy, and it's just one of my favorite ways to play a game and decorate. So, there it is. Thank you for joining this stream. I might be on later today to do some building over in Nightingale. I don't know. I don't really feel good today, so maybe not. But there it is. Thanks for visiting. Peace.